Option 2 also starts with 66 chains. So you'll chain your 66, and then once you get to the end of that, pinch and hold so you can chain your 2, and then crochet into that third stitch or third chain from the hook. Do your first double crochet, chain 2 in the next, or double crochet into the next chain from the hook. See, it looks like this. We've got our first cluster, chain 2 to create a corner, and because I am so lazy, I will simply crochet around the chain from now until the end, because this acts as an anchor point. My stitches won't slide off, and I don't feel like counting and blah blah blah. So we're just going to do it this way. I'm crocheting around my chain. If you would like to crochet into the chains instead, by all means, you are more than welcome to do that, but I will not. So after we've done that first corner, we're going to make 9 clusters along the length of our chain before we make our next corner. Also, if you are going to be crocheting into each individual chain, then you are going to have to add more chains than the 66, because you have 3 stitches for each of your clusters effectively, but you don't have the chain 1 in between. So you can leave it as is, and you won't see the granny stitch come through, but it will on the next row, or you can add more chains to include the spaces in between. That's entirely up to you, but I'm simply crocheting around the chain because I can. So let's spread this out a little so I can see how many I've got. Alright, so this is my first cluster, that's my corner, so I start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I made too many. So 9 clusters, chain 2. Now we'll do 2 clusters before adding another corner. Chain 2 after those 2 clusters, and now we'll do 9 more clusters to complete our next side. This is my first corner. Where'd you go? Wait, what's going on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, corner, 1, 2, corner. Haha! Okay, I lost my corner. That was on me for not using stitch marker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One more. So, now that I have my 9 along the side, chain 2, and we'll slide to the end of our chain, and then put our last 3 stitches in these last 3 of the chains. So, into the chain, that way we have a second anchor and our stitches won't slide off. So, doing 1 stitch into each of the last chain spaces gives us our final cluster. Now, I've got this bulge here. All we do is slide or pull so that our stitches even out. So, that's our first row done. Looks a bit fiddly. Wait, haha! I've incorrect. I messed up. So, undo the last 3. Don't listen to me. I was wrong. Because we need another space. My bad. So, I'm going to just crochet around the chain for 1, 2, 3. I want my cluster, my last cluster, to go around the chain, not into the chain. Chain 1, and then in the very last chain, double crochet. My bad. And the reason for this is because we need a space to put a cluster when we start our second row. So that's on me. But this also creates a space if you would like to add buttons, or it creates a hole if you would like to add a bit of cross-lacing detail for the dress. So, wonky noodle is what we have right now. It will look better on the second row. So, chain 2, turn your work, chain 2 double crochets into this first stitch here, and that creates our first granny square. So, now we just continue on across. So I've got a corner coming up here, so I chain 1, I put 3 double crochets, chain 2, and then 3 double crochets all into that same space in order to create my first corner. Again, the chain under your stitches will even out on the next row. So don't worry too much about what it looks like right now. We're starting off kind of rough, but it will get better. So we'll end up with 10 clusters for our second row, so you can start counting from the corner. So don't count this one, which is perpendicular to this cluster. Start here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you know you've got 8, 9, and then 10 into the corner. So granny squares automatically increase, which is the best part. You don't have to worry about doing any increase stitches. And we know that we started with 10 clusters, or 9 clusters on the first row, and so we're just adding one more when we do our corner. So into the corner goes 1 cluster, chain 2, and then your second cluster. So I only had 2 clusters in between my corners here, so I know that this is also a corner. Again, if you sort of push your corners together, they'll create like a bigger mountain than if you have one. This looks like a little bump, right? That looks more like a peak. Or just use stitch markers, I mean, whatever works. So now that we have 1, 2 for our first row, we have 1, 2, 3 for the second row. So you want all of the stitches that are standing up, as it were. So now we continue on our merry way. And you belong over there. Alright, I'm at my last corner once again. So, 1 cluster, 2 chains, 1 cluster, all in the same corner space. Chain 1. So this is our first cluster where we ended. And so into this very last space between your sort of first and second stitch here, you're going to put 1 double crochet. That way we have a space to work in on the next row. So just the 1 double crochet. Chain 2 and turn the work. So into this very first space, we'll place 2 double crochets to create our cluster. And then keep going all the way around until you reach the end of the row. And again at the end, chain one and then just a single crochet in between those first and second stitches, and then continue on in this way until you reach the end. Not the end, but until you've got your 11 rows down or more, or less, depending on how you would like your bodice to sit. If you decide that maybe you're just going to do like a small amount of lacing or a few buttons, and you have come to the end of however long you would like that to be, so if you just wanted like, you know, a little extra, so you could have maybe like a keyhole here on the next row, all you'll do is just slip stitch your first stitch into, or your last stitch into your first stitch, and then you can work in the round like the previous sort of version of the bodice. So you don't have to keep with the split. You can keep doing the split as long as you would like, but so far this is what it will look like when we fold it in half. So this is the neckline, and then on the back or the front, depending on how you use this, this will be, you can lace it or button it or whatever you would like to do to create just a bit more space to get into the dress. So I will meet you back here after I've done about 11 or so rows, and we will continue on with the bodice from there. So I hope all of that made sense and that you are happily crocheting along, and I will be back shortly.